I always knew dyslexia affected my child's learning and progress at school, but I never really considered how it affects just about every area of their life. I feel so foolish for not realizing this sooner. I'm Jenny Sherson, ex special educator turned dyslexia interventionist. It wasn't so long ago that I, too, was overwhelmed by balanced literacy versus structured literacy, education speak, and everything in between. Fast forward after many, many hours of self driven education, and you'll see I've built a thriving dyslexia practice helping students from age 6 to 18. My specialties? Working with a quote unquote difficult, almost always 2E student, and breaking down the complexities of dyslexia into everyday language strategies and action steps. When people talk about dyslexia and how it affects someone with it, the focus is almost always on how it affects them at school. People rarely talk about how the effects show up in everyday life. A dyslexic is always dyslexic no matter where they are and what they're doing. Let's take a look at 5 unexpected ways dyslexia can affect a person. Let's first look at travel. Now, I've talked about this before in episode 24, traveling with a dyslexic child, but we'll look at it a little different this time. And there are some very specific challenges dyslexics face when traveling outside of their personal area. Maps and signs can be a challenge. A dyslexic may have trouble quickly and accurately reading signs, maps, or timetables, making it difficult to navigate the terminal, gate system, or a new city. Dyslexia can make it hard to quickly process spoken or written announcements about gate changes, delays, or cancellations, raising the possibility of misconnections. Managing travel documents such as passports, tickets, and reservations can be challenging due to difficulties with organization and reading. My dad came over just last week asking me to help him with the passport renewal process. He had gone to the local agency, had multiple copies of the renewal form, he was prepared for mistakes, and the government website up on his laptop, but he was afraid to go any further in case he messed it up. Together, we filled out the form online and I printed it all out for him. Filling out these forms takes more time and energy for someone with dyslexia. Overall, booking and planning can be difficult too. In the age of booking systems, online booking systems, filling out the forms and confirmation emails can be time consuming and prone to errors. There's a joke going around the internet that there is a desk in the Salzburg airport in Austria just for people who messed up and thought they were flying to Australia. And I can imagine many dyslexics or ADHDers can relate to that. Along with travel comes driving, and it's a whole issue on its own. First, there's the written portion of the exam to pass, which causes a lot of anxiety for many dyslexics. Then there is the reading of road signs. It can be difficult to quickly read and process road signs while driving, especially if the text is small or complex. Think of all those exits where there's an A, B, or C off ramp and two go off on the right and one goes off on the left. And I just had flashes of the New Jersey Turnpike as you approach New York in my head. Driving requires a lot of executive function. You have to manage tasks and process information simultaneously, controlling the vehicle, reading road signs, paying attention to others around you, traffic lights, understanding road and vehicle symbols that may pop up along your trip, and spatial awareness. Just how far is the distance between you and the other cars or that stopping point? Now, if you live on the water like I have my whole life, boating has hurdles of its own. My parents had me on a boat by the time I was 6 months old, and it's just a natural part of my family and life. I never considered that dyslexia might affect boating until I saw the movie True Spirit last year. It's based on a true story about a 16-year-old girl who did a solo sail around the world. The movie showed how her dyslexia, especially when she was stressed, could affect her chart reading skills, which in turn would affect her navigation decisions. I had one of those, well, duh, of course moments while I was watching this. So, yes, chart interpretations can be difficult, especially when using some of the more complex nautical charts. To properly navigate, you also have to understand coordinates and how to plot those coordinates. Read those charts wrong or confuse the numbers in a coordinate can get you into trouble and fast. And on the water, there is a whole new symbol system you have to learn: reds, greens, diamonds, circles, squares, and marker letters and numbers. Reading the markers wrong can quickly lead to you ending up in areas you do not want to be and or seriously ticking off all the other boaters around you. So cooking is another life skill that can be affected by dyslexia. Cooking often requires the need to read a recipe, which can be complex and involves many steps. It's easy to misread ingredient lists and use the wrong ingredients or the amounts needed. Sequencing of steps and the time management also comes into play. Keeping track of the steps and where you are in the steps can be challenging. Then add on top of that, you have to understand and manage the cooking times and temperatures. And don't be surprised if some of the food is over under flavored or cooked. Now, I admit my ADHD gets me here too. It's me in trouble all the time in the kitchen, and I do not find it to be an enjoyable experience. And finally, watching shows and movies these days can be incredibly difficult for a dyslexic. At some point, almost all of the shows or movies I watch now have subtitles in them. I actually complained about it recently, how I stopped watching some of the shows because I couldn't multitask while watching them anymore. They were forcing me to read the subtitles to keep up. Subtitles also usually move quickly, making it hard to keep up with the action and the nuances going on in the show. And if a subtitle is missed or misread, just like regular reading, it can lead to missing important plot points or dialogue. Subtitles require a person to simultaneously process information using visual and auditory systems. And tack in the foreign language being spoken doesn't match the patterns and sounds of the text in the subtitle. This can totally throw a dyslexic or just right over the edge. So there were 5 unexpected ways dyslexia can affect everyday life. Did any of them surprise you? Are there any others that come to mind that I didn't mention? I would love to hear about them. If you have any further questions about dyslexia, please feel free to sneak into my inbox. I'd also love your input. What would you like to hear from me in the future? Is there a topic I haven't covered yet you really want to learn more about? Or do you have a pressing need and you're not really sure how to handle it or move forward? Send me a DM on Instagram or drop me an email at jenny@literacyuntangled.com. That's JENNIE at literacyuntangled.com. I can't wait to hear from you. Until next time, bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Literacy Untangled. If you loved this episode as much as I did, head on over and rate and subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you want to continue the conversation or share your takeaways, head on over to our Instagram at Literacy Untangled and comment on your favorite part. I can't wait to hang out with you again soon. Bye.